Environmental awareness at the well site. Today there is a real desire by individuals to better understand the energy business and how it impacts them personally. Public, regulatory, and media scrutiny of the oil and gas industry is stronger than it has ever been for both operators and service companies in regards to their well site operations. Because of this, Schlumberger employees must be exceptionally observant of the company's compliance and safety requirements, and remain sensitive to the environmental impacts of oil field operations. Employees must be aware of the increased environmental focus and typical risk on jobs performed in the field today. Each employee should be familiar with the Preparedness, Prevention, and Contingency Plan, or PPC plan, at the well site. The PPC plan, along with Schlumberger's comprehensive training programs, identify and describe practices currently used in our industry to minimize potential surface impacts at the well site. Protecting the surface involves spill prevention, containment, and stormwater pollution prevention. In addition, this includes training on the topics of preventive maintenance, inspections, and proper chemical handling. Our commitment to protecting the environment is critical for Schlumberger client relations, our public image, and ultimately, our success as a company to maintain a leadership position. The purpose of this awareness program is to provide insight into environmental risk management. The four main areas covered are risk awareness, proactive planning, communications and training, and finally, prevention and continuous improvement. Recently, many newspaper, magazine, and internet articles have featured stories concerning reported environmental damage by the oil and gas industry. In addition to this, environmental watchdog groups maintain websites and blogs devoted to reporting anything that looks to be, as they interpret, out of the ordinary at well sites around the country. With this heightened scrutiny of the industry, it is critical that you know the proper procedures and operating techniques for well site pumping operations, spill prevention, and stormwater pollution prevention, particularly in the area of protecting human health and the environment at the well site. It is important that our field employees know in advance of any air compliance requirements. In addition, from an emissions perspective, we need to demonstrate best management practices during sand chief transfers and use of field silos by connecting pollution control devices, such as socks or portable dust collectors, to the vent line. In regards to our equipment, our manufacturing group continues to supply new tractors and deck engines with the best available engine technology. In some communities, noise may be a factor as well, and there may or may not be requirements for shielding the well site or placing requirements on hours of operation. This is important to address with the client in advance of the job. Risk awareness. In Schlumberger, a spill is a situation in which a chemical is accidentally released. Accidental release. Any spill, leak, or other undesired loss, pumping, pouring, emitting, emptying, discharging, injecting, escaping, leaching, dumping, or disposing of hazardous substances, crude oil, or produced water into the environment. A spill is characterized by Schlumberger Standard 2, which include the type and quantity of chemicals that are released, its impact, and whether it is reportable. In the case of non-regulated chemicals, dealing with a spill is usually very straightforward, since the spill simply needs to be cleaned up and disposed of or recycled according to MSDS. Spills of regulated products containing hazardous materials need to be cleaned up by individuals that are properly trained, whether in-house or by a contracted third party, and disposed or recycled accordingly. Training may include PASCOM, or Country Emergency Response Equivalent, and training on the respective pollution prevention plans. Clients should work with service companies to arrange equipment and chemicals on the well site in a manner that minimizes the risk of a spill leaving the pad and reaching the environment. Natural drainage patterns of the area should be considered so that potential stormwater runoff will not discharge spills into local surface waters. You are probably familiar with the risk associated with operations at the well site. We want to prevent unplanned spills of acid, additives, well fluids, or flowback water. Spills during fueling, transferring fluids, totes falling off flatbeds during transfer or traveling, or a loss of well control are all potential risks for spills in our operations. Proactive planning. Chemicals should be transported to and from the well site in accordance with local regulations and in a manner that is designed to prevent spillage and minimize impacts. You should always have a PPC plan readily available at the well site. We must also assure that vendors and third-party contractors are qualified. This will minimize Schlumberger from being cited for violations. Your entire crew should be fully prepared on what to do in the event of any environmental emergency by conducting regular drills and keeping the PPC plan current based on location and job particulars. This should include notating items like wind direction, nearest muster area, nearest surface water. Is there a protected barrier? Storage and location of spill kits and neutralizing agents like soda ash. In the event of a spill, there are actions that you should take as referenced in the PPC plan. Depending on the size, type, and environmental impact of the spill, there may be additional reporting requirements. Notify supervisor and client. Contain spill by trained personnel. Use of spill kits and our on-site vac truck. If needed, contact third-party cleanup company. Reporting is a critical component if a spill occurs. All environmental events, incidents, and non-compliances must be immediately reported to your supervisor and to the client supervisors on site. This includes a spill of any amount of hazardous material, including produced water and slick water, to the ground, whether contained or not. The PPC plan includes guidelines for reporting air releases, injuries, and spills that have a potential to impact human health or the environment, along with agency phone numbers. Releases that are always reported are spills that exceed a reporting threshold, hydrocarbon spills that create sheens on surface water, spills that have the potential to impact surface or groundwater. Spills are air releases that have the capability to impact human health or the environment. Always call upper line management if any of these events occur. Spills must be investigated to determine their root cause. In most cases, this can be done by on-site personnel and management with the support of segment and our shared services health, safety, environmental department. In some advanced cases, the third-party cleanup company, outside environmental consultants, laboratories, and legal may be added to the team involved in an investigation and cleanup. Any spill during a job must be captured and reported at the well site and input into Quest. For light spills, a spill log can be used to record and post in one Quest report at the end of the job. Any spills in the serious, major, catastrophic category must have an individual entry into Quest. Reports will be documented in Quest in order to heighten the awareness to fellow Schlumberger employees. You should also report any near misses in Quest to eliminate serious potential incidents. The Wellsite PPC plan provides clearly defined preparedness and prevention requirements at the well site. It also includes contingency requirements to be followed in case an emergency situation arises, such as injury, accident, and/or spill. Training of crew members includes taking preventative measures when transporting and handling fluids, chemicals, and materials. Cleanup and disposal practices if any products are accidentally spilled or leaked. Procedures for inspecting equipment, hoses, and connections prior to pressure operations. Remedial actions to minimize impacts to soil, groundwater, and surface waters. Communications and training. Responsibility at the well site is extremely important. The client and Schlumberger must agree on their individual responsibilities before the job. Personnel must be trained on the equipment to be used and the procedures to prevent leaks and spills during job operations. everyone needs to be vigilant in checking lines and connections for possible leaks. By having these responsibilities identified, the response time will be decreased. A quick response time will reduce the risk of exposure to human health and/or the environment. The best way to avoid adverse effects of spills is to prevent their occurrence. A key factor in spill prevention is adequately trained supervisors and field operating personnel. Wellsite operations should be conducted in a manner that minimizes the potential for any unplanned releases. Spill prevention, response, and cleanup procedures should be defined and in place before storing fluids on site or conducting activities that have a potential for a spill. Prior to startup, account for all items on the environmental checklist. This includes current PPC plan with ER contacts. Know roles and responsibilities and review them at tailgate meeting. Tank and plumbing that meet specifications and current inspection. Label tank with name and HMIS. Impervious containment before hookup. Showers, eye wash. Spill kit. Proper training is critical to preparedness and prevention of incidents on location. It is also important for the crew manager to know who is trained, responsible, and has the proper equipment to deal with any unplanned events. Employees trained on HAZCOM and/or HAZWOPER. PPE. Vac truck on standby to remove spills. Emergency spill kits on all frac crews. Secure livestock away from chemicals. Awareness and protection of creeks or streams nearby. Awareness of others on pad and neighbors. Drills must be conducted quarterly to practice for unplanned events and assure everyone knows what they will do in case of an emergency. You can do this as a desktop drill by writing out the incident and having a crew run through what each person is responsible for doing and the planned outcome, including reporting. Prevention and continuous improvement. Let's now spend some time talking about prevention. As we have said before, the best way to avoid adverse effects of spills is to prevent their occurrence. Perform routinely scheduled tests and inspections of lines, hoses, and other pollution prevention equipment. Follow operating procedures that minimize potential spills. When bringing chemicals on site, store them in such a way to prevent any accidental release to the environment. Containers must be visually inspected before and during the operation to verify their integrity. During the pre-job meeting, personnel responsibilities will be identified, assigned, and discussed. Items discussed include covering the scope of work, performing a job safety assessment, identifying applicable client and Schlumberger legal compliance requirements, ensuring personnel are aware of client and Schlumberger Wellsite contingency plans and spill reporting. Wellsite wash-up areas, purging lines, and breaking connection are a few of the risks that have been identified by Schlumberger. Once a job is complete, the lines and blenders are flushed with water to a client-designated and approved containment, whether it be a holding tank, vac truck, or other. We must make sure prior to breaking apart connections that the lines are flushed, and if possible, vacuumed to minimize any fluid release during the disconnects. When disconnecting lines, drip pans and other containment devices may be used to capture residual fluids. Following rig down and equipment departure, a final inspection of the pad must be performed to ensure that the well site is as clean or cleaner than before the job started. Again, training is a key component of preparedness. All Schlumberger employees are required to be trained on the various chemicals that they are handling. The MSDS contains information about proper storage, hazards to the environment, spill cleanup procedures, and other information to minimize environmental impacts. During the loading or unloading of bulk chemicals, there must be an individual witnessing the transfer. The same is true for transferring fluids to a PCM so that the tank doesn't overflow. Schlumberger is committed to leading the industry in service quality, as well as continuing environmental protection at the well site. The plan forward will include improvements not only at the well site, but with the client, contractor, and supporting agencies. Auditing, assessing, along with continual improvement in communication, training, and technology, will advance Schlumberger's commitment to service quality, safety, and environmental protection. These actions will ensure that Schlumberger continues to remain industry leaders in environmental protection. Risk awareness, proactive planning, communications and training, prevention and continuous improvement, all parts of environmental awareness and our future success. The key factors in spill incident prevention are adequately trained supervisors and field operating personnel. Always remember that the best way to avoid adverse effects of spills is to prevent their occurrence. If you have any questions or comments, please contact your local QHSE management team. Thank you for your continued dedication and support in helping Schlumberger maintain its recognized environmental leadership within our industry.